Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. We are now starting with the we are doing the 7th chapter of Panchadashi by Vidyaranya, and let's chant 100 and sloka 110. Yadyatha vartate tasya tattvam hittvanyathatvadhihi viparita bhavana syat pitrada varidhiryatha together. Yadyada vartate tasya tattvam hittvanyathatvadhihi viparita bhavana syat pitrada varidhiryatha. So he essentially is looking at the obstacles for this Atma Jnanam. So even though I have learned and studied Vedanta and even the Mahavakyas, both the indirect knowledge, the direct knowledge, and the indirect knowledge and the direct knowledge. Indirect knowledge about the whole creation and the world, as the Brahman is the Adhishthanam. So the whole world is nothing but Mithya. Brahma Satyam and Jagan Mithya. This is part of the Paroksha Jnanam. Then Aparoksha Jnanam comes into say, I am that Brahman, so Jivo Brahmaivana. That comes from the Mahavakya Vichara. So even after studying this, still people are not able to establish themselves that I am Brahman, or that only during the listening they appreciate it, but after the class is over, they are back to the regular. That's because even though they had sufficient purity of the mind to listen to the scriptures, the purity of the mind is not complete because of the lingering vasanas, ragadveshas, and therefore as soon as the class is over, as soon as they are in the transactional world, because of the remnant ragadveshas, they get carried away with it. And therefore, what should I do? So there are several obstacles that are being pointed out. Number one, about the pramana vichara, about the validity of the pramana. Why? Because the Shastra pramana, the scriptures, one scripture says something, another scripture says something else, and so on and so forth, and that can be eliminated by listening to the scriptures in a self-consistent way, in a methodical way, through a teacher who himself studied that process. So the teacher knows what needs to be taught depending upon the nature of the student. In those days, there used to be Gurukula system, and the teacher doesn't teach immediately. He says, stay here for 1 month, 1 year, and then you will start thinking about the teaching. So you have to spend 1 year there, but in the process, the teacher observes the student, see what his likes and dislikes are, where his problems are. Only after 1 year of service to the teacher, the mind gets purified enough, then the teacher says, okay, now you ask the questions. So by that time, the teacher knows the mentality of the student, how prepared he is, how qualified he is for Adhyatma Vidya. But nowadays, we do not have the Gurukula system, even though there are missionaries that train the student, like even Chinmaya Mission has Sandipani Sadhanalaya, but there also they try to interview people and select those people who have prepared their mind for this kind of study. And even if they select wrong students, after rigorous training of of few months, those students cannot take it, and some people leave. Only those that are remaining are the ones who have commitment for it and the prepared mind in order to listen. Still, the knowledge becomes still in the form of, yes, I understand it, but not internalized. So for internalization, that means firmly abiding in the knowledge. So even though Shastra Pramana is taken care of, there is a Pramana, which is Viparita Bhavana is still there, and also lack of concentration on the subject also. That means Aham Brahmasmi, it gets dissipated. Viparitana Bhavana is how can I be that, or how can the world be unreal, and for that only the preparation of the mind before itself is required. But if it is not done, but he has enough prepared in order to satisfy or listen to the scriptures for consistently for prolonged length of time, he has mind prepared enough to listen, at the same time not prepared enough to internalize the knowledge. This is a state of most of the people, because they understand Vedanta, but that understanding remains only in the classroom. But what should they do? The remaining vasanas need to be exhausted slowly, and scripture understands this. Not only is a problem now, it's a problem all the time. So people understand it, but it's not internalized. And the scripture knows it, therefore it says, Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha. You have to contemplate. How do you contemplate? There is several methodologies are being discussed here now in terms of Nididhyasanam. But in olden days, this you have to leave the house and take up a sannyasa. That's what the prescription based on Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya in the Maitreyi Brahmana, he says that I had to leave because I want to concentrate on the Brahma Vidya only. So Yajnavalkya already knows the subject, he is able to teach, and in fact he was a teacher because of that also to Maitreyi, his own wife also. So, but he wants to leave for what? That he wants to contemplate on that Aham Brahmasmi is Aham Satyam and everything is Mithya, and that he needs to contemplate on it until it is completely firmly abiding. Chitta Ekagrata is required, Nididhyasanam or contemplation is required. So he is leaving the house in order to do that. So obviously Maitreyi has to ask, you are ready, he is ready to give all his property among his wives, but is the first wife, Maitreyi questions him, says, you are ready to leave all this because you are going for something superior, that's why you are leaving this. I want that which is much more important for which you are leaving than this wealth. And therefore he appreciates the Maitreyi, therefore he started teaching the Vedanta. That's how the Maitreyi Brahmana is in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. But that example of Yajnavalkya is taken to say that sannyasa is required for Nididhyasanam. But here we are going to see what exactly is required in terms of the Nididhyasanam. Here, Yachada vartate tasya tattvam hitva nathatvadhihi. So yet in any object, yada vartate, as it exists, tasya tattvam, its real nature, hitva, rejecting, anyathatvadhihi, understanding that it's different from what you hear, is called viparita bhavana. Just as yatha pitrau aridi. Here is example, giving an example, just as notion of eneminess on the parents. Parents are the ones who bring you up, and with all the love and all that, and suddenly you get a feeling that they are my enemies, and that is called a notion, which means you are projecting something different from what it is. That's exactly the example here given. So let's look at this a little bit carefully. What we are saying is, we are giving the reality to the world. Why we are giving the reality? We are looking at the superficial names and forms So transactability and the usability, perceptibility, all this is related to the world, and that becomes a basis for the reality. In the Mandukya Karika, Gaudapada talks about this. He says, just as in the dream state we think the world is real because we see the world, therefore perceptibility is there. Transactability is also there because we are transacting with the world, and each one is we are dealing with it at that time when we say that this is the reality because we have perceptibility, transactability, usability and all abilities, and therefore it is real. Same applies to the world also. In the same we thought in the dream state also, everything is perceived, everything is transacted. Therefore, as a dreamer thinks that dream is the real world, but only when he is awakened to higher state of consciousness, he recognizes that what I thought is real is not really real, because it's negated by the higher state of understanding. But same way, what is reality? How do you define real? It's not the usability, it's not the transactability, it's not the perceptibility. Then what? What is real is that which remains the same in all periods of time. Trikala abaditam satyam. That is the absolute truth. All other truths are only relative truths for transactions only, convenience. So ring is true, bangle is true, necklace is true. But what is the truth is, ring can change into bangle, bangle can change into necklace. So real is that which remains the same in all periods of time in spite of the changing names and forms. In the same way, world is Jagat. Jagat means Jayate Gacchate, that which keeps coming and going. That means it is continuously in flow. Continuously, morning has come, morning into evening, evening to morning, morning to, so generation, the seasons have come, years have gone, and so on and so forth, continuously changing. Time is not a constant fixed one, it involves itself a continuous flow. So every minute is changed, every second is gone, and therefore what is that reality behind these changing things? If changing things are there, there has to be something that is changeless entity, that alone is real, and that is called Nityam. Nityameva Satyam. Nityam is that which remains the same all the time, and that alone is the truth, and that which remains the same all the time is essentially, what is that? That which is changeless is that which is Brahman only. Infiniteness alone cannot undergo change. Any finite things continue to undergo change, and that what is essentially a Shruti says. So therefore, I am giving a reality to the plurality. That is my fundamental problem. So what is Tattvam? Tattvam means I have to investigate, is it really real? If something is made up of something else, then whatever is only assemblage. Assemblage is not the absolute truth. If I have a H2 and O, oxygen and hydrogen together forming water, water is only a combination of two elements forming a product there. So intrinsic nature of the truth of water is nothing but hydrogen and oxygen, and truth of hydrogen is nothing but electrons, protons and neutrons. The truth of electrons, protons, neutrons is still we are investigating what are the fundamental particles. There, the problem is, of course, is that the investigator itself is only the changeless entity. Conscious entity alone is a changeless entity. Everything is continuously changing. Therefore, the matter cannot be real, but matter is useful for transaction purposes only. So, every object, if you really go into the details, it's not really there. What is there is really the essence of it, and essence of it you cannot investigate through the objective tools because it's not an objectifiable entity. According to Vedanta, what is really real is that from which it came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. Yadova imani bhutani jayante ena jatani jivanti yat prayam cha visham vishanti tad vijnasasva tad brahmeti, and that is really Brahman, from which whole universe came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. And no matter cannot be considered as the source of it, because there is something other than the matter, which is called consciousness, and that cannot be analyzed using objective tools, and therefore it's beyond the objective sciences itself. Even the mind cannot be analyzed by the objective tools. Thought cannot be analyzed by objective tools. So the objective scientist has to realize the limitations of the objective tools in order to investigate this. And say he cannot investigate, therefore he is not there, is only a stupidity only. But here we are talking about what is the reality of the world itself. Yathartham. Yathartham means that what I think is superimposed on what it is. That's where the difference between the truth and what I see. What I see can be different from what is the truth. So that's what is called Brahma. Brahma means that I am seeing something different from what it is. That's called Brahma. So example that is given is, I am seeing a snake although it is a rope. Why am I seeing a snake? Because I am not getting complete attributes of the object. Why am I not getting the complete attributes? Because it's not too bright, but enough light is there that I see something there. So there is a Vastu Jnanam, but at the same time I am not getting complete information through the senses. I am only getting it 5 feet long, it is soft when I stepped on it, it is lying on the alleys, and I have heard that a lot of snakes are in that area, therefore it must be a snake. So the attributive content that I have gained through my senses are not sufficient enough to distinguish whether it's a rope or a snake. So I take it is a snake because snake and rope are the sadrushyam is there, similarity is there, but the attributes that I have gained are not able to differentiate whether it is a rope or a snake. Therefore I take it as a snake because I am afraid of snakes. So what I am seeing is different from what it is. That's called Brahma. Brahma is what is there and I am seeing that. That's called knowledge. True knowledge is that which cannot be negated later. Absolute knowledge is it cannot be negated. Whereas what I am seeing is a snake and somebody says that's not a snake, it is a rope. If it is a rope, why am I seeing it as a snake? So that's also my question. Why are you seeing it as a snake? It's a rope only. So a doubt arises when there is another person says that that's not really what it is. Therefore I need to investigate, is it a snake or a rope? How do I investigate? Sit down and do japa, it's not a snake, it's not a snake. That doesn't help. What I need is a torchlight and go and look for whether it is a snake or a rope. When I put a more bright light, then what happens? Then I get more attributes of the object that can differentiate it is in fact a rope and not a snake, because the rope doesn't move, snake moves, and rope is not alive. Snake may be alive. Even with a dead snake, at least you can see a difference in the attributes. Therefore, I can deduce based on higher means of knowledge, that is by putting a light on it, I can see what it is rather than what I think it is. So the whole world I think it is like this, it is this, it is this, only because I am not seeing the essence of it. Why? The senses cannot see it. According to Vedanta, senses cannot see the essential truth of the world. Why senses cannot see? Because the essential truth of the world is nothing but pure existence alone. So I don't see the world as it is, I am only seeing the world as it is projected based on the Ishvara's creation. So yatha vartate. So an object that as it exists, its tattvam is not seen, but I am only projecting something other than what it is and then transacting with the world, and that is the fundamental problem involved. That's called viparita bhavana. Viparita bhavana is taking the world as really real, even though it's transactionally real, but not absolutely real. And therefore, yatha apitrau aradihi. So what I need to do? I need a higher means of knowledge to know what is real. Because higher pramana is required to know whether it is a rope or a snake, or whether it is a real water in the mirage or not. A further investigation is required because there is a doubt. And because if the mirage water, I thought there is a water, when I went there it is not water, as though it is moved out further away from me. So I had to investigate why I was seeing water even though there is no water. So again, science comes into the analysis is what you're seeing is only reflected sunlight appearing as though it is a water there. That's what is mirage water is. In fact, it's a dry sand. There's no water anywhere there. And that comes from the analysis only. That's called higher means of knowledge. Higher pramana is required in order to understand. Same thing happens when I put a pencil in a glass of water. I see the pencil has bent, and really pencil has not bent, because if I lift the pencil it comes out as a straight, but when inside the water, half water, and it looks as though pencil has been bent. That's part of the fraction that occurs because of the light bending, and that's what I need to understand it by analysis. So even though experientially this bending of this pencil or sunrise and sunset or mirage waters, these are not my creation. It's creation because universally everybody sees sunrise and sunset, even though there is no sunrise and sunset. And that Shastra becomes a pramana, a means of knowledge, higher means of knowledge than the perceptual sunrise and sunset. So that Shastra means science. Science here becomes a higher means of knowledge to know the exact truth about what it is. What I am seeing is different from what it is, and what it is can only be known by a higher means of knowledge. Instead, world is real I am giving because I am giving importance to names and forms. Names and forms I am giving importance because they are superficial, but there is an adhishthanam. Adhisthana means that from which it is came or supporting, that adharam. Adharam means that which is bearing that, because of which it doesn't exist at all. So the very existence itself is the adhara according to scripture, and scripture becomes a higher means of knowledge to know the truth which cannot be known by the senses. And therefore, what it is to be known by using a higher means of knowledge, and what I think it is negated in this case. Once that becomes a Brahma, so the whole world becomes a Brahma, because that is the truth is that the whole changeless entity is pure Sachidananda Swarupam. So anyathatva dhihi. So understanding that it is different from what it is called Viparita Bhavana, and that's what is called Viparita Bhavana. And that way I am projecting something what is not really there. So in the Vedanta discussions, there are a lot of examples are given in terms of the silver in the shell, mirage waters, and the flower, the crystal clear, is reflecting as a red flower, and so on and so forth. Because of the crystal in the vicinity of the red flower looks as though red, even though there is no redness in the crystal, because of the proximity of the red crystal. In the same way, of the proximity of this samsara, we think that samsara is real, even though it's not really real. That's what has to be understood through Vedanta Pramana. So now we'll chant the next sloka, 111. Atma dehadibhi noyam, Atma dehadibhi noyam, Mithya sedam jagattayoho, Mithya vedam jagattayoho, Dehadhyatmatva satyatva, Dehadhyatmatva satyatva, Dhi viparyaya bhavana, Dihi viparyaya bhavana. Together. Atma dehadibinoyam, dehadibinoyam, Mithya chedam jagattayoho, Dehadhyatmatva satyatva, Dihi viparyaya bhavana. So ayamatma dehadibinnaha. Sa idam jagat mithya. Tat. So dehadya tattva sattvatvam dihi viparyaya bhavana. So he is defining what is viparita bhavana. Viparita bhavana is, so atma dehadibhi bhinnaha, dehadi bhinnaha. So Atma, I am Atma, this means I am, when I say, is different from Deha, Adi, body, etc. Why are different? Body is Shariram. Shariram is Shiryate, it is Shariram. That which undergoes change, continuous change is called Shariram. So Shiryate iti Shariram, that which is Deham, and that is called body. So that which is called the body is because Idam Shariram Kaunte Akshetramit Abhidiyate. So Krishna says in the 11th chapter, says that is the Shariram. What is Atma? Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavakaha, Nachaivam. So it is Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, it cannot be cut. So anything that can be cut cannot be Atma. So why? It cannot be cut. Why it can be cut? It is subtler than the things. Space cannot be cut. Space itself is subtle because I want to cut the space into pieces. I cannot cut with using a sword because it is Nainam Chindanti Shastrani. You cannot burn the space, you cannot wet the space, and all things that are attributed there towards Atma also applicable to space also. So, but it is subtler than the space because even space is negated when I go to deep sleep state. There is no space also, no time also, but I am there. So, I am subtler than even the space also, and therefore I pervade the space too, and that is my true nature, and therefore Atma Dehadibihi na ayam. So, I am Atma Dehadi Bhinnaha is different from the body. Shariram includes the Sthula Shariram, that means the gross body, that is which is Annamaya Kosha, and the Sukshma Shariram, that is Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya Koshas, not Anandamaya, Vijnanamaya Koshas. All are Antahkarana, is called subtle body, and also it is different from the Karana Sharira, which is also the Anandamaya Kosha, and that all Shariras, the Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram and Karana Shariram, it is all that, it is Bhinnaha. Atma is that which enlivens all of them but different from all of them, and that's what is to be understood. Atma Dehadibihi Bhinnaha cha idam jagat. So Atma Satyam, say Aham Satyam is the first statement. Idam jagat mithya, this world is mithya. This is what we stand. Oh, Brahma Satyam, Jagan mithya. Mithya is specific to Advaita philosophy. Mithya means it is neither real nor unreal. So how can that be possible? So according to Bhagavan Ramanuja or even Madhvacharya and other acharyas, says it's only either it's true or not true. You cannot have in between. Either it is Satyam or Asatyam. If it is not Satyam, it has to be Asatyam. If it is not Asatyam, it has to be Satyam. Either Sat or Asat. So how can it be? Says what you say is only true at an absolute scale, but what we are saying is that there are things that which does not remain. So we have to define. Says even those are Satyam only according to Ramanuja. Says even though they are Satyam, their relative reality, degree of reality still varies. That which even Bhagavan Ramanuja also agrees, because if I say that the gold is different, ontological means the degree of reality, the ontological status of gold is different from a ring and a bangle. Why? Because ring and a bangle can change, but gold remains as gold. So therefore, when you say that the relative reality of gold is different from the ring and the bangle are only Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadheyam. This is what the scripture uses. This is Chandogya Upanishad. It says it is nothing but giving this example. It says Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadheyam. It is only Namke Vaste creation. It's only namesake. It is a transformationless transformation. And therefore, gold remains as a gold, but still appearing as many. And in the appearance of many, gold is still retaining its goldness also. So only it's an apparent transformation, and that apparent transformation is what is called mithya. Mithya means it is enough to experience, but not enough as a reality or absolute reality. It's real enough to use it, but not real enough to be the transactionally independent of transformation. So therefore, gold can become a bangle that's called destructive transformation. Destructive means gold the ring gets destroyed to become a bangle. Bangle get destroyed to become a necklace. Whereas gold becoming a ring and a bangle, there is no destructive transformation. It's only apparent transformation called Vivartavada. So it is transformationless transformation instead of a reversible transformation or irreversible transformation that we deal with in the chemistry or physics. Therefore, this transformation is that which is changeless, is alone is the truth. So Trikala Abhaditam Satyam means that which remains the same all the time. And everything else is changing, therefore Jagat is Mithya. It is not Sat, it is not Asat. Mithya is Sadasat Vilakshanam. Says that which neither you can say exists or it doesn't say it doesn't exist. Sannapya Sanno Vayatmikano. Bhinnapya Bhinno Bhayatmikano. Sangapya Nanga Ubhayatmikano. Mahat Bhuta Nirvachaniya Rupa. So it is that which is neither Angaha, neither Sanna, either it is Sat or it is Sannapya Sanno. It is neither Sat, nor neither you say exists, nor it doesn't exist. So take the example of a ring. Is ring exists? Of course ring exists. It's a bit different from a bangle. But if you ask, ring really exists? No, it's actually gold only. You are calling it as a ring. So there is no reality of the ringness, because ring is only a name for that form of gold only. So in truth, it's only gold, but not changing something. Therefore, the reality of what I perceive is different from what it is. So it is neither Sat nor Asat. It is not Asat in the sense it's not non-existent. It is existing, it is experienceable, it is usable, and so on. Therefore, the ring is used, ring exists, which is different from a bangle. Its utility is different from a bangle. At the same time, there is no ring there. What is there is only gold. So therefore, looking from a different degree of order of reality, coming from which it came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. That which is Vivarta, that is transformationless transformation, and that which remains the same all the periods of time, alone is the absolute truth. And that has to be understood here. So Jagan Mithya, so it is experience at the same time, it's not really real. And therefore, the ontological status of the world is different from that from which it came. Yatova imani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prayam cha visham vishanti. From which it came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. That alone is the truth. And the examples that are given in the Upanishad, it gives the 3 examples in the Chandogya to the father teacher Uddalaka, his son to Svetaketu. Yada saumya ekena lohamanina sarvam lohamayam vijnata vacharambanam vikaro ramadeyam lohamiccheva satyam. Yada saumya ekena mrutpindena sarvam manmayam vijnata vacharambanam vikaro ramadeyam mrutyakiccheva satyam. So every time it repeats. What is that? Vacharambanam vikaro ramadeyaha. It's only namke vaste creation. There is no real creation here. And that is being pointed out repeatedly by the teacher. And therefore he says, Aitadatma medagam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi svetaketu. So Aitadatma medagam sarvam, idam sarvam means idam sarvam. This entire universe is nothing but the essence of it is that which is sat that I have been talking about. Because Dalaka starts with Sadeva Saumya Vidamagramasid. Therefore, it is that which is Mithya. It appears to be there, but it's not really there. And therefore, it's only Namke Vaste. Therefore, Jagat is nothing but Nama and Rupa only. Rupa involves attributes. Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandhas. Those are 5 attributes that through which a world can be perceived. I have only 5 senses, and through the 5 senses only, I can see the world. If my 5 senses are not functioning, the world is not experienced. Whether it is there or not, from my point, it becomes an indeterminate. That's what happens in the deep sleep state. So therefore, what is experienced need not be real. In fact, Shankaracharya says it is mithya. Why? Because it's experience. Whereas the other Acharya says it is true. Why? Because it's experience. So experience is the basis of the reality or unreality. He says because you experience, and therefore that which is the experience cannot be neither real or unreal, it's only mithya. So sannapya sannya ubhayatmikano, bhinnapya bhinna ubhayatmikano, angapya anga ubhayatmikano, mahat bhuta nirvachaniya rupa. It is of the nature of that beyond all these things too. And that has been explained here in the statement that Atma close the door. Atma dehadi vinoyam mithya chedam jagat yonihi dehadyatmatva satyatvam di viparyaya bhavana. So therefore I am Atma dehadi binnaha cha idam jagat mithya. Therefore I am different from all the bodies, and this world is nothing but mithya, and that dehajyat atma tattva sattvatvam dihi is, this is the absolute truth that Vedanta says, that I am essentially I am different from all the bodies. When I say I am, and we say this is different from me, I am only, I cannot say I am, but unfortunately I am only say I am, and anything else added is only with respect to the body only or the mind only. Anything that can be qualified is only an object, but I am not an object, I am a subject. I cannot say who are you? All I cannot say I am. But I cannot say I am for transactional purpose. I say I am this, I am this, I am this, otherwise I cannot transact. But the truth is, this is an object and I am a subject, and subject cannot be object. And therefore, Atma dehadibihi, this abhimanam is there, that this is my body and this is your body and so on. That itself is only for transactions but not in the absolute truth. Mithya ched idam jagat yonihi. So the world is itself is not real or unreal. That's called mithya. And this is what exactly Vedanta teaches. Dehadhyatmatva satyatvam. So in the dehadi atmatva satyatvam, in the body I am taking that it's real, that notion is called viparita bhavana. Dihi viparita bhavana. That understanding the world is real and the body is real and I am only a jiva, all this or becomes because of the contradictory to the truth, therefore viparita bhavana. So how do you know this is truth? What is truth and what is not truth? Is the experience I am experiencing, this is the body and so on. What is the basis on which this is truth and that's not truth is established? It's only established on the basis of that which cannot be negated. Alone is the truth. That's right. Trikala avaditam satyam. And whatever that is continuously changing cannot be truth because it's changing. It may be relatively true because non-existent cannot even have a locus for existence. Like a Vanjaputraha, the son of a barren woman is called real Asat. Other one is the world is not Asat because it is their experience. Vanjaputra cannot be experienced. It's called logical contradiction is there. Whereas in the case of the world there is no logical contradiction. It's only it appears to be there. That appearance is because of the distortion of my vision also. Because I am not seeing the truth as it is. And that is defined as a viparita bhavana. So how do I get rid of the viparita bhavana? In the next sloka it says tatva. We will stop here because it's already time. We'll come back to this how this viparita bhavana being addressed by Vidyaranya in the next sloka. We'll stop here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.